Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. For those of you who are new, welcome. We're so glad to have you. Today's video is dedicated to how to get the most out of your lifting session. So as everybody knows, I am a huge fan of strength training. I have been doing it since I was 18 years old when I first started teaching aerobics. And now I'm 55. So weight training, strength training has been a really big part of my fitness regime for so many reasons for so many years. And I know that for a lot of people, strength training is something new, and sometimes it can be a little intimidating, especially when you go to a gym and everybody is doing their thing and you really don't have much knowledge of where to even start. So today I thought it would be a great idea to pop on and talk about how to get the most out of that strength training session. So are you ready to get started? Let's go. So let me begin by saying something. Here is a weight that I have at home, and you can see I set up a little area in my great room to do some home workouts when I can't make it to the gym. But the reason I chose this weight is to show you that weightlifting does not mean that you have to get on a bench press and press 300 pounds. It can be as simple as investing in some small weights. These are awesome because they are actually adjustable. You can pop them off and change the level. But what's most important is that you're starting to work your muscles to build lean muscle mass. And don't forget, when you build lean muscle mass, not only are you gonna be happy with the way your body shapes up, but it has so many benefits for your cardiovascular system as well as your metabolic health. So just to start off my video explaining that, because a lot of people are under the misconception that weight training means super heavy, you're gonna get bulky, and I think baby wants to get into my workout now. Anyway, let's talk about the first tip that's so important when you start weight training is you want to warm up your muscles. So when you start to activate your muscles, you want to make sure that they're limber, that there's blood flowing to them so you don't create any injuries. So tip number one, super easy. Please, if you decide you're going to start a weight training program, make sure before you're training that you start to do some sort of warm up. So for me, what I like to do is I get on the stepper at the gym and I do about 10 minutes. It heats up my muscles, warms up my body. I get a little bit of cardio in, and then I go to the stretching area and I do about 5 minutes of stretching. And that's it. I have my 15-minute warm up and I'm all set to go. Tip number two, after your session, you want to make sure you rest and recover properly. This is such a critical tip, and I think the one that people seem to dismiss the most often. And that's because we're not really understanding the benefits of the recovery. And it's also something a lot of people don't take time to do. So I encourage you all to learn about recovery, incorporate it into your fitness routine, because it will help you in so many ways to feel better for your next session. Speaking of which, it's really important that you replenish your body after a workout. So I have been really enjoying LMNT. It is stemmed from research that shows that you actually need 2 to 3 times the government recommended sodium. So this is what I've been enjoying. It's helping me to stay hydrated and to fully recover. It tastes really good. This is the black cherry lime. They have a lot of other delicious flavors. And by the way, it does not have any of the dodgy ingredients that you see in a lot of other similar products. So this has been my go-to. It also has 200 milligrams of potassium and 60 milligrams of magnesium, which are all things that help with recovery and so important to put back in your body. So what's wonderful about this is it's also great for anyone who's on a keto, low carb, or paleo diet. And it's really good for anybody from the everyday athlete like myself to those who are involved in more serious sports. But it's a wonderful way to make sure you're getting a replenishment of electrolytes. And for those of you who know what it feels like when you're low on electrolytes, you're gonna experience headaches, possibly some muscle fatigue, brain fog, all things which I've experienced. This has been really helpful. It's very refreshing. I put it in a little cooler with some ice and I'm set to go after the gym, but the on-the-go cans are also an easy way to get in your electrolytes. Get your free LMNT Sample Pack with any purchase at drinkelement.com/Janine. Also try the new LMNT Sparkling, a bold 16-ounce can of sparkling electrolyte water. Okay, so now that we're clear about what we need to do before strength training and after strength training, let's talk about what to do during strength training. So my biggest piece of advice here is to control your movement. I can't even tell you how many times I see people swinging through their lifting, not having proper form, not breathing. But really what we're trying to do when you think about it is activate the muscle. So it makes common sense that you want to maintain slow and controlled movements. You really want to isolate and squeeze the muscle. So the slower you go, the more controlled you go, the more you're going to get out of your strength training session. What I like to say is we do it on a count of 2 up and 4 down. So we squeeze it for 2 and then we slowly let it down for 4. Squeeze it and slowly let it down. That is the best way to make sure you're isolating your muscle, you're getting it to peak performance, and you're going to see the results you want. Now that's also when you're using the machines, not just the dumbbells. Even when you're doing squats, you always want to maintain the controlled movement. And aside from isolating the muscle, why else is that important? It's important because we're going to reduce our risk of injury. So if we're swinging and we're going too fast, obviously that means we are more likely to hurt ourselves, and that's the last thing that we want to happen. That said, another piece of advice I have is all about breathing. So I didn't learn about breathing until several years into my weight training experience. And when I started to learn about it, I understood really more about how to breathe, how to stay in control of your breath, and I really started to notice some pretty significant differences in my muscle growth. So again, a lot of people hold their breath, and that's kind of natural to do, right? Sometimes you're straining a little bit and you don't think about breathing. But if any of you take yoga, you know how important breathing is. So it goes the same with weightlifting. You want to make sure you're breathing. So typically the breathing cycle is similar to all other sports where we're breathing in and then we're exhaling on the release. So for those of you who do yoga, you can relate it to that, and I think that will be very helpful. So make sure you're controlled and that you're breathing. My other piece of advice, which we talk about all the time, and I think everyone is aware of, is form. However, even though most people are aware of proper form, that doesn't mean they're actually using proper form. So the way that I learned was I watched other people, I spoke to trainers, and I watched videos about proper form. And then once I felt I understood, I had somebody take a video of me, because that's really the best way to see if your body is aligned in the proper form. A lot of times we think we're doing something the right way, but when we see ourselves on camera, we can make small tweaks or adjustments. So a great example is, I thought when I did squats, I had perfect form. I knew everything I was supposed to do. My hips were supposed to be over my knees, and my knees weren't supposed to go past a 90-degree angle on my toes. I was perfect, or so I thought. But when I had a video taken of me, I realized I was way off kilter. My right hip was a little lower, my left hip was a little higher, I was sideways. These were things I could not pick up when I was doing them on my own. And that's just because our bodies are aligned very differently, right? We always have a little shorter leg, we're always stronger on one side than the other. So by watching a visual, we can very easily learn not just what the proper form is, but are we actually doing the proper form and making small adjustments accordingly. I hope this is all making sense so far. I hope that you're finding it helpful. Now, if you're new to strength training, what I want to remind you is to start off slowly. It's very important that you do things gradually and you build into it. That's another common mistake that I see people do. I feel like they just jump into it and then they get sore or they hurt themselves and they don't want to do it anymore. So obviously we don't want that to happen. So start off slowly. Maybe if you're new to strength training, you want to just start off with 20 to 30 minutes each session, alternating body parts on a daily basis to give them time to recuperate. And then as you gradually get better, you can slowly start to increase your sessions and increase your weights. But once again, I want to focus on the fact that strength training is about building lean muscle. It's not about lifting heavy. And don't be concerned that you're gonna get bulky, because that will not happen. If anything, you're going to start to feel more powerful, have more energy. And even though the scale may stay the same or even go up a little bit, because don't forget muscle weighs more than fat, you're gonna lose inches and fit into your clothes better. So I would love to hear your thoughts on my video, and of course, if you have any tips that you want to share, drop them in the comments. I hope you guys have a wonderful afternoon. I wish you a healthy and happy day, and I'll see you all again soon.